Hello everybody, this is Josh from CEDatum. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the transfer rod coupling on a SJT 400 CED Videodisc Player. This is going to be the same process for all FK model players. Basically this shaft here goes inside the gear and then the transfer rod sits inside there and rotates. First thing you're going to want to do is plug your player in and power it on, and then unplug it. And then there's going to be two screws in the back cover. You can go ahead and take those out. They're just going to be regular Phillips screws like that. And then once those are out, then you can grasp the top cover by the sides and lift it up and towards the back and off. Set that off to the side. Alright, once you got that off, you can remove this. So once that's off, you can remove this. It just lifts up and slides to the left and then slides to the right. Set that off to the side, and then you can pop this thing up. It just lifts up on both sides, folds out of the way. And then what we're going to want to do is this is the transfer rod right here. You want to push that down and rotate the platter to about halfway like that, and then the platter will lift up. And then there's going to be two little plastic things back there that you got to push out of the way. And then on the front of the player, you're going to want to clear this little metal rod right here. Like that. And then it'll lift out. That's how you get the platter out. Set it off to the side. And then you can go ahead and plug your player back in. Just don't touch anything while it's plugged in. And then power it back off again. Of course. Okay. This player is having issues, but there we go. So then you can unplug it again. Come on. All right. And then the next step is going to be to remove the faceplate. You want to lift up on the top of the faceplate and pull it towards you like that. And then once you got it pulled forward a little bit, if you look inside, there'll be this metal bar right here that is clipped onto the door. So you just want to unhook that from the door. And then the faceplate will pull down, and it's connected with a ribbon cable, so you can just unplug the ribbon cable, set that off to the side, and then there's this little plastic cover that goes over the connector. You can set that off to the side, and then you can rotate this gear to slide your stylus arm back and out of the way. And then there's going to be a screw right here. And then one over here on this side, right here. And then there's going to be one right inside here. So you can remove all three of those. Okay, so with the three of those removed, you can also take off this plastic cover. This is, I think, just on the 300 and 400 series players. And just set that off to the side. So now with these three screws removed, this whole thing will just lift up a little bit like that. And then you're going to want to go to the back here, and I usually pull this little lever back all the way, and you can push this off to the side a little bit and lift it up and out of the way. So then that's out of the way. And then you can take a flathead screwdriver and you can remove this switch, and then you can come over here, and this plastic board, you can take this fuse cover off. Just try not to touch anything electronic. And you can remove this black plastic board here with a flathead screwdriver, and down in the very bottom you can see it's clipped in down there. Right down there, there's a little clip that you can remove. So I will do that and be right back. So once you pop this off, you can just kind of push that out of the way. And then once you pop this out, just remove the two wires from their little holder. And then you can just kind of move this stuff around to get this board out a little bit. So that it's up high enough like that you can get to these two switches. And then you can pop those two switches off. Okay, so once you got those two switches popped off, then this whole black plastic piece will lift out of the way. You can set that off to the side, and now you got some room to work in here. So you can kind of push these two little switches out of the way. And then you can get back there to that spring. So then you want to take a needle nose, and that spring just clips onto the plastic piece on the bottom through the front. So if you push it down and pull it forward, it'll come off. So we got that unhooked. And then you should be able to lift this up far enough now to get this out of the way. What is it stuck on? Hold on a minute here. There we go. And you can take that out. Alright, and then that'll let this rod here lift up enough that you can slide it over like that. See, I slid it over and it pops off of the coupling. And then you can take your coupling out like that, and then take your new coupling and put it in, and then line the rod up and slide it back into place like that, and then set the thing back down, and then you just reassemble everything in the reverse order that you took it apart in. You put this back in. This one's kind of tricky. You probably have to have both hands to do this. But once you get this in, there's a little spring right here that goes into that little notch there to keep pressure on it so that it stays up like this and not falling down. And then, let's see, what other springs should I make note of? This right here sits underneath. Sits underneath this. Hooked onto here. This spring over here, this little thing, just pushes back behind this bar. And I think that's about it. And then just make sure you get your switches all put back on, and make sure you get this piece back in and this piece back on. I'll be right back. Okay, a couple more things that I do want to mention. If you lift up too high on this assembly, the bottom can come unhinged in there, like that. So to get it back in there, you have to lift up on this back assembly, and then slide it back down in the slot, and then lift it up till it pops in. And then once you have that in, also you can rotate this gear right here to get this assembly to move. So if you want to raise or lower this bar here in the middle, you just move this. So I usually move it till it's at the lowest spot, so then you have enough room to get this bar back in. So to put this one back in, just lift up the whole assembly. And this you're probably going to need two hands for. I don't think I can do this one-handed, so I'll just explain it. So you're going to want to rotate it so that this has pressure pulling it forward. So like right now it doesn't have any pressure, but if you gimme. But if you rotate this spring all the way around again and then hook it into that hook, then it'll have pressure that pulls it forward, keeps it pulled forward. So you can put this bar in, and then you can lower it down, and then you can rotate this gear to get it to slide over to just the right spot. It's really hard to explain. It's easier to show you, but I can't do it with one hand. So just have to take my word for it. Alright, so basically what I did was I placed it in there, and then I lowered the rail back down, and then I turned this gear to get this piece to lift up enough to clear that back, and then you lift up the rail again and slide this whole bar over into place. So now it's into place, and the spring should be loaded so that it springs back forward like that, and it should be lined up with this little notch right here, like that. Okay, and then you can reassembly everything. This can go back. Just lift up on this, put it in sideways a little bit, get it back into place like that. All right, and I'll work on reassembly. Okay, and when you're putting this black piece back in, make sure that you put these wires in the little slot before you push it all the way down, and make sure that the black piece is lined up in the little slot here and over here by the transformer. And then once you get those in, then you can just snap it back down into place. Make sure you get your switches on first. I accidentally snapped this off of the ground over here, so I'm gonna have to solder that back on afterwards. But yeah, I got this one back in. I think the only thing I have left, I got this cover, which just slides onto the black piece. covers the fuse. And then we got to put this back in. Oh, there's one more spring that came off. This little spring right here came off, and it just hooks into this little black piece here. Come on. And then it hooks onto this ground rod thing like that when you reassembly it, so that it's like that. But yes, I will continue. Okay, so I got the screws back in. So this little thing just goes like that, and then it runs underneath the rail. And then when you put this screw in, make sure that you get this little ground thing through the screw as well. And then I got my plastic cover back on, and I got this screw back in, and this rod just tucks underneath this metal piece. And then I got that screw back in. And then the next step would be the faceplate. I usually just take this plastic piece and set it here. Well, let's connect the faceplate first, actually. So you take your faceplate, I actually have a faceplate video, so just look at my other videos and there's more detailed instructions on how to do this faceplate. So I'll just snap this faceplate back on, but basically you just connect the ribbon cable, set this back in there, connect this back to the door, and then hook the bottom, click it on. But you can watch my other video for a little more detailed instructions. Okay, so once you have your faceplate back on, you can rotate this gear right here again to get your stylus arm to slide all the way to the front as far as it'll go. And then if this rod here is still sticking up, then you can rotate this gear again to get it to go all the way back down. And then once those are in, then you can take your platter, and the platter slides into the back until the front clears, and then it slides to the front until it lines up with the hole. Okay, well, and then drops down, and then you just rotate it until this bar pops back up. That's right about there. Snap this ground rod back into place. Put this back in. It just inserts on that side, and then make sure it's straight up in the air so that this slot lines up. That goes back in, and then I'm going to have to solder this ground back on, but I'll just stick it onto the metal for now, like that. Whatever. Alright, then you can put it back in, make sure everything functions correctly. You can power it on, power it off, everything looks good. Go ahead and unplug it again. Well, anyways, unplug it again, and then you can put your cover on. Put these two screws back in the top cover, and you're done. So yeah, hopefully that wasn't too hard. One of these magnets is really handy because you drop the screws, and then this lets you get into the small places to get the screw back out. But other than that, that's how you change the transfer rod coupling on a JK RCA Videodisc Player. Thanks for watching.